Okay, so this is a face and body reading channel. I didn't want to do another one on Chloe Ayling. I'm quite bored with the tabloid press stuff. Nevertheless, I was away for 2 weeks and then I saw these videos when I came back. I watched this and I was really surprised. I first thought I got it wrong the first time. She's really good in this video actually. Let's look at her for a few seconds.
Well, you went to this modelling job in good faith. It had been checked out by your then agent, Phil Green, so you were happy that everything was fine.
Yeah.
When did you first think, this doesn't feel right?
It was when I walked into the studio and there was just silence. Normally someone would greet you at the door, closer to the door, but I just didn't hear anything. So that's why when I saw the door saying studio on it, I went to open it, but before I had the time to quickly process my thoughts, that is exactly when the masked man put his arm around my neck and my mouth and nose.
So and injected you?
Yeah, and another one came to the front of me and injected me in my wrist.
So there were two men at this point?
Two masks.
So in this video she does a lot of things right. She uses her hands as illustrators when she describes stuff. She's also very decently dressed. She looks quite innocent in her demeanor. There's also no duping delight around her mouth corners, or not significant. So all this is very different from her first video. However, I do trust my first impressions. So first impressions are really key. It's when your subconscious detects stuff you don't really sort of understand in a sort of rational way. During these few weeks now, since the previous video, she could have got substantial coaching. She seems a little bit teary throughout this video. Said even could be trained and practiced. So the thing is, she talks with a lot of detail here, describing in parts probably true stuff when she enters studios, what happens, how people greet her. These are probably truthful things emerged into this non-truthful story. So it's really hard to separate the truth from the non-truth, especially if she had time to really plan out the story in her mind and put herself in a sad mood. She almost appears teary from the beginning of the interview. Okay, so it's to her benefit.
When you saw that syringe in his hand, what was going through your mind?
Absolute panic. I didn't know what...
So there's no sign of panic again on her face. She looks people in the eye. She doesn't look down. She doesn't seem to be hiding anything. So she does this very well. But nevertheless, I would expect some fear at this moment on her face.
What it was. I didn't know why they were doing it. At this point, I still thought someone wrong had got me and the shoot was still supposed to go on. I didn't connect it as a setup.
Yeah.
And did you instantly pass out?
When you passed out, when did you first wake up? Where were you when you woke up?
I woke up in the boot of a car in a zip-up bag.
Oh my word.
And I had tape on my mouth and handcuffs on my feet.
Okay, so this is important. She says she had tape on her mouth. As this was raised in some comment of my previous video. This is sort of a really strong giveaway because she contradicts herself now.
You were inside a plastic bag. You were sweating. Experience like?
It was horrible. I was still drugged up, so
Again, no sign of fear on her forehead, which would lead to some wrinkles here between her eyes.
I didn't process it automatically, but I was trying to shout and trying to find my way out.
Okay, here now she says she shouts, which of course she wouldn't be able to do if she had tape on her mouth.
I didn't know what was happening.
The car was moving.
The car was moving and the radio was blaring as well, so I couldn't really get the attention, so I had to really raise my voice, like driver.
Okay, raising the voice and yelling driver, driver is really hard when you have tape on your mouth.
Where are we? And then it took a while for them to actually pull over the car and come round the back, and then I was still asking questions when they came round.
So they were still asking questions?
They were still masked at this point, yeah.
So they're still masked, which is very hard to believe. I mean, I would imagine when they're driving, they take off their masks so they're not so obvious in a public environment. However, she could have mixed things up in her story. Maybe there was a long break. Maybe in the beginning she was taped, later not. Maybe they put on the mask later. However, there's now sort of an accumulation of giveaways. In particular, her statements are not congruent completely, and also her facial expressions are again missing.
I thought that I was going to die because what other reason would they put an empty suitcase about my size on top?
That was what you thought was your coffin?
Yeah. I was hoping for a non-painful death.
Oh, I know.
So this looks extremely believable at this moment. Her voice is cracking. There's a little bit of a sort of a wrinkle developing here, sort of strong emotions on her forehead. However, now there's no tear, as one can see. Let's slow it down. So here, there's no tear, and she seems to be hiding her face behind her hand. That could be because of shame. However, there's no tear. There's a wrinkle here which looks believable, but there's no tear here. And now the camera, unfortunately, immediately turns away, which is a shame. She's completely composed again. She gets a handkerchief and doesn't really care about it anymore. She just folds it in her hand. She doesn't really... Here she looks quite teary, but she looks teary from the beginning, and it could be trained. This is, what you do in acting.
Very well. You're very well composed. And a lot of people don't understand that. They understand what they see now, but they don't understand why you're not constantly on show as a nervous wreck.
Yeah, that's just how I am as a person. I try to be as strong as possible.
That's nonsense. I think being 6 days in captivity, not knowing if this is your last 5 minutes you live, this is what produces extreme anxiety. This is what soldiers experience when they're in combat, going through really difficult situations. You don't need to be in combat for 2 years to develop post-traumatic stress disorder. You get this after one difficult event.
And I was in Italy for 3 weeks before I actually came home to the UK.
3 weeks don't really matter.
Didn't witness was
time really flows very slowly in recovering from these circumstances.
Any noises I hear, I would freak out, having nightmares. No one here witnessed that.
So now she's listing all these things she didn't say in the very beginning in her first interview. So she could have researched that without any trouble. This is exactly what one was supposed to say, and she now says it weeks later. So I don't really trust this anymore.
I only started to get more reassured as it came to the end of the 3-week period when police were trying to reassure me that...
I don't think reassuring really helps under these stressful conditions.
I don't have to be as fearful as I am now when I return to the UK. I don't know if you remember, but I met you briefly in Paris.
So she says all these details and she uses her hands again. It's very, very good. This would be normally indicators of the truth.
At the airport.
Did you remember?
No, I didn't recognise him at first.
Did he?
So also saying no in an interview like that, it's very hard for someone who would try to deceive someone because it sort of raises extra tension. So these are again signs of being truthful, but I think this is just played very well. So
Herbert, did he tell you what the intention was after they kidnapped you?
For sex trafficking. He said I would be sold to somewhere in the Middle East and that the men would use the girls for about 3 months, pass them around to all the relatives and friends, and then when they're eventually bored of the girls, and they just feed them to the tigers.
And they
feed them to the tigers?
Yeah.
So this is very good because she says she was supposed to be sold to the Middle East, and as far as I know, there are no tigers in the Middle East. Maybe that was just symbolic, but tigers live in Asia and Siberia and so on.
How terrifying! I mean, that is absolutely ghastly. Yeah. But at the same time,
however, she shows no sign of duping delight.
Yeah. But at the same time, he opened up negotiations. He was sending emails back to the UK, wasn't it?
So it's now about why she fired immediately her.
You had an agent who was working on your behalf doing that. To then leave that agent so quickly after coming back.
No, because I can't help but blame him, because my mum said that when she called him and said that I was...
Again saying that she blames him, and her mum said makes her look very believable. First of all, the mum's statement makes her look very innocent. And then firing someone and having a strong reason for doing so also sounds very convincing. Also raises attention. Someone lying wouldn't try to do something like that.
How has this affected you? How has it changed you?
Well, I'm scared. Even when I'm home, I'm not going to be the same person again.
Again, she says exactly the right things.
It's really affected my life.
So career change.
A complete career change. So yeah. What will the future hold for you?
I haven't really thought about the future yet so much.
She hasn't thought about the future yet. Also, she knows she's going to have a career change, so this doesn't really fit together. I guess she's talking about book deals and so on.
Ayling joins me now. Good morning.
Let's look at another video.
As I said, we've been asking
of one of her interviews.
To get in touch today with their questions. And probably one of the most frequently asked questions is, why are you, say, sitting on the sofa here today? Why do this morning? Why do these sort of television interviews at this point?
Well, when I was in Italy, that's when I had my time to process everything and spend time with the police and try and regain my confidence after what happened. So then I didn't want it to come into the media originally because I felt embarrassed of being naive. about the situation. So then when I came home, I expected to have some time off and just relax at home. But then coming straight into the media and then hearing that people actually doubt what I'm saying, I had to give my story and explain.
To explain where you...
So she looks less comfortable in this video. She's sweating a little bit, but she doesn't hesitate too long. She has her answers. She can explain herself very well. However, after such an ordeal, there's really no good reason to be in the media. A person who really experiences would try to hide and wouldn't seek the media attention. So someone being on TV and giving interviews and trying to manipulate public opinion makes that person look guilty. Guilty people plugs himself into the investigation and all the public opinion stuff. They try to control the situation.
To get it out there, because not many girls have the no
opportunity. Here she gets the wrong word out of her mouth. She wants to say opportunity. This is really the wrong word for being in captivity and potentially being sold as a sex slave. This is not an opportunity. Under no circumstances.
Everyone is clearly affected by trauma in different ways, but some suggesting that you don't look traumatized enough. How would you answer that question?
Well, like, for example, smiling outside my house. I've been waiting for that moment.
So she has again the right answer. She prepared this, obviously.
It's shocking. Like,
so she doesn't look really shocked. I would be really angry if this would have happened to me and people wouldn't believe me. Just anger. The eyes should go together and the brows should be lowered. No sign of anger.
I don't understand why I would be doubted. Why would someone lie about something like that?
Yeah.
It's been proven
a little bit of anger.
To be,
okay, this was the key here.
Something like that, and it's been proven to be by the police and the judge.
So proven to be correct by the police and the judge. Either something is correct or true or it's not. It doesn't matter if it's proven, those are the wrong words. It's not about what is proven, it's about the truth.
Do you move away from it? I mean, what do you do?
Well, it's good to take opportunities in order to raise awareness about
and make money.
The whole situation. So there's endless opportunities for like maybe a book or documentary.
Okay, that's what it's about. It's about a book deal and documentaries.
Spread the word, really.
And
it's also a weird, strange phrase. Spreads the word. Here's maybe a tiny bit of duping delight at this moment, or some superiority in her face, slight asymmetry here. And she closes her eyes to shut off the question, to end it.
You did mention in an interview that you would like to try and help other young girls who could potentially be in danger. Would that be another route that you'd like to try?
You can turn such a negative situation and my lesson I've learned from this and then actually help other people, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, okay. Well, Chloe, thank you very much.
Okay, she's much better, in particular in the first interview I showed on Good Morning. What she says seems the right stuff. She's obviously very prepared now. She might have had some coaching. She even looks teary in the first interview. Here in the second one, she doesn't look that comfortable. However, there are several instances where she says the wrong stuff. Like opportunity, spreads the word, proven to be correct by the police and judge. These are not things one would say in these situations. I hope this was the last video about Chloe Ayling and talk to you next time. Bye.